small African country is sending you tea and flowers? That's not your biggest economic challenge. It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets and that they stop taking intellectual property and hacking our servers.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise, and today we got to talk about it, man. Once again, Scott Jennings, he is going off. He has to check a room full of liberals. He does it. I got a couple clips to share with you guys. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get into it.
The Republican caucus about 2 months ago had this screening of Ronald Reagan, and I went for the movie, and they should have another screening, and they should play Ronald Reagan on tariffs. And Ronald Reagan will say, it seems like the patriotic thing to do, but those people in Congress, they're just bowing to special interests, and tariffs always raise rates, they cause inflation, they hurt competitiveness, they hurt innovation, and it's a false patriotism. Don't fall for it. And they should just watch that over and over and over again.
This seems pretty straightforward if you're a conservative. What also makes this, I think, somewhat absurd is they put out this formula here. I have it here. It's a chart like this that the president held up. And in the blue and white column, they basically had a made-up formula. Here's how Larry Summers describes it. It's now clear that Donald Trump's administration computed reciprocal tariffs without using tariff data. No tariff data at all. This is to economics what creationism is to biology, astrology is to astronomy, or RFK thought is to vaccine science. The Trump tariff policy makes little sense, even if you believe in protectionist, mercantilist economics. I don't understand. I mean, I guess they think nobody is going to bother to check, but making up numbers and then saying, oh, we're going to half that number and be generous is not math. It's also not economics. It's kind of no way to run the economics of the greatest economy in the world.
Well, look, I'm not going to get into the mathematical formulas they came up with because I wasn't there and I don't know how or why they did it. I have mixed feelings about this, truthfully. I wasn't trained to believe in tariffs. You know, those of us who grew up as traditional Republicans have always thought what Ronald Reagan thought. And so what Trump is doing here is implanting new economic theory DNA inside of the Republican Party. And what you're seeing is some Republicans are rejecting it. Some Republicans are reluctantly going on with it. Some Republicans are enthusiastically embracing it. I know people in the business community who are on both sides of it, frankly, back home in Kentucky and elsewhere. I'm also persuaded, frankly, by the Trump argument regarding the working class in this country and also by the fairness argument. So I will just say this. If it works, it'll be the ballsiest and gutsiest thing a president's done in decades. Let me finish.
No, please,
let me finish. And if it doesn't work, the political consequences fall on the shoulders of one man.
Actually, and I totally agree with you. This is the one time I actually agree with you. Jim Cramer said it best. Well, there are several, maybe 5 times. This is one of those 5 times. Jim Cramer said, this is a man-made issue. One man made this issue, and it was Donald Trump. And I think that the Americans wanted lower prices. They didn't want higher prices. What's going to happen, and what economists are saying, is not only are people going to get laid off, but costs are going to go up. And that's not what the American people want. And they're going to see it in the midterm elections. And so I think that the Republican Party needs to be very careful about what they're doing. The other problem with all of this is the uncertainty. He's not saying how long these tariffs are going to go. He's not saying, is this a done deal for a while, or is it a short-term deal? And that's a problem.
Let me let Richard in.
You talked about the political consequences will be on the shoulders of one man, but the economic consequences are going to be on the whole world. This is an experiment that should not have been taking place because, and you talk about the...
And I'm going to disagree with him. We have to try something. We have to. The solution to our country's deficit can't be tax American citizens more. It can't be. That can't be the case. So kudos to President Trump for trying something. Because sitting on our hands and hoping that things get better, that's not going to work either.
Republicans who are not speaking up. So far, I mean, Mitch McConnell has come out with a statement. Where was he talking about this, by the way, during the campaign when we knew that tariffs were going to be large on the agenda? You also said...
You just raised an issue. You said during the campaign, when we knew, because Donald Trump
no one
talked
ever
about
expected this madness.
They expected Donald Trump to enact tariffs. He did it in his first term.
Let's be clear.
I do think there was
This
an
is
expectation.
economic...
Not only did he campaign on this, he actually did enact them in the first term, and it worked. They worked so well that the Biden-Harris administration did not remove those tariffs that were placed on China. They didn't remove it because the revenue was too daggone good. So what are we talking about? And I don't know, if this guy is, obviously he's from the UK. It sounds like it. Just listening to his accent, it sounds like it. How about you go get your own house in order? How about that?
Vandalism.
I mean, this is actually not...
Well, I would think a lot of
Hold
working
on a
class
second.
Americans would say what was done to them was economic crunch.
But the jobs that are going to come back, according to the Peterson Institute, the very jobs that Donald Trump says are going to come back are the jobs that America doesn't need. America needs high-paying, high-skilled, digital, a new age, AI-based economy. What he's talking about bringing back is old style. Basically, look.
Well, no,
Here is a shoe. It's my shoe, right? It is made in China. You talked about these luxury products.
They are.
Right, but you take your shoe off and see where it's made.
Yes.
Made in China, made in Vietnam. This is going to be 34% more expensive. It's an ordinary shoe bought in a discount store.
look, I
put it back on again.
represent...
I mean, inflation has gone up 29%. I didn't see the uproar from these people over the past 4 years. Interest rates have been through the roof. I didn't see the uproar from these people over the previous 4 years. I just didn't see it. We finally got a president that, one, has been talking about this for quite some time. Also, Nancy Pelosi, she talked about this in the 90s, this needing to be done because everybody is just thrashing us right now, taking full advantage of us right now. They're willing to come here and sell goods here in this country, but want to allow us to export our goods into their country without levying some crazy high taxes on us. I mean, this is ridiculous, man. And as I started this video off with, in reference to Barack Obama, he said that, hey, the countries that are doing extremely well, reciprocity is extremely important. Yeah, if you want free trade, you need to offer us free trade, if that's what you want.
Silicon Valley, but I think this country needs more than tech and AI jobs. We definitely need manufacturing, and we need to be a manufacturing superpower. Here's my problem with the tariffs. On the one hand, he's saying, well, this is not permanent. This is just a negotiating technique. Now, if you really think that, and you're Jim Farley at CEO of Ford, or you're the CEO of Mary Barra, are you going to go to your board and say, well, let's put billions of dollars in build new factories, when Donald Trump himself is saying that 2 months later he may take this away?
But Congressman, I don't think Donald Trump is saying that. Donald Trump is saying we need to raise revenue in a different, old school way through tariffs. He would like this to be permanent. I think the people who are saying that are people like Scott, who would like it to be temporary.
He's saying that that we're here and they are here and they want to do that.
He is tariffing countries.
That's what he's saying.
Abby did say something that is proper. We need to raise revenue in a different way. There's only two ways you raise revenue, the government. There's only two ways they do it. They're either going to raise taxes on everybody through this income tax and taxing businesses, or we need to raise taxes on the countries that want to do business in this nation. One of the two. That's the only ways that this country earns revenue.
He is tariffing countries.
Is secondary.
He is tariffing countries that do not actually tariff us at the levels that we are now tariffing them, because he is using a made-up formula based off of trade deficits.
He said on the plane tonight, I saw before I walked in here, that he's gotten a number of calls from the leaders of other nations around the world. So you wonder what kind of negotiations are going on. If I might offer a piece of advice, though.
His Treasury Secretary literally said, there are no conversations.
Well, the president of the United States said it on the plane tonight, so I don't know who outranks who. But let me just offer.
Exactly. I think to what end is a very
piece of
important
advice.
question.
I do think that if an American ally comes to the table, like Israel did, and said we're totally eliminating our tariffs, we should immediately reward that. Because I do think part of the game here is, if you want to work with us and you want to treat us and American creators and American businesses fairly, we want to do the same for you. Israel did that. I assume other countries are going to do that.
Israel did that, and guess what they did to Israel? they slapped them with a 17%
I know. I'm saying we should treat
tariff.
them. We should treat them the same.
17% tariff.
But if all the countries do what you say, Scott, and everybody does sort of come back to us this level playing field, then the president is not going to get this other renaissance in manufacturing and renaissance of new jobs, because the level playing field, you make goods and services where it is economically advantageous to do so. And at the moment, in the United States...
Let's start digging up some diamond mines and exporting those, and then it will justify the tariffs that we have placed on small African nations for diamond imports. Some of this does not make logical sense.
I tell you, man, these people are ridiculous, man. Abby said it, that we're trying to get revenue in an old school way. We're trying to go back to how things were to an extent pre-1913, where the country's revenue came through tariffs, opposed to continuing to tax the American people and the citizens into oblivion. I mean, we're literally witnessing a full-blown economic realignment. That's what we're witnessing right now. In the media, these Democrats, and even some Republicans, they never saw it coming. Although President Trump did campaign on this. President Trump, man, he just launched the most strategic economic offensive, play in modern U.S. history. This isn't about tweaking a few tariffs. It's an all-out war on the globalist system that's hollowed out American industries for decades. No one wants to talk about that. China took 3.2 million jobs from us. No one wants to talk about it. They've decimated the Rust Belt, Middle America. It's called the Rust Belt for a reason. The rules are simple. If you tax our goods, we're going to hit you back harder. No freebies, no more loopholes. We've literally had countries come over here, instead of building their manufacturing or manufacturing their goods here in the States, they choose Mexico because it's cheaper. They can pay these people pennies on the dollar. How much longer can we take this? And how much more money do you want to take from the American people? Seriously. The results are simple. Jobs are going to come back to the States, factories are going to reopen, and middle-class America is going to rise again. Simple as that. For 40 years, globalism sent jobs overseas and told Americans, man, learn how to code or do something else. Figure it out. And not anymore, man. Not anymore. Change has to happen. We cannot keep operating the same way over and over again, hoping for a better result. We just had 29% inflation hit us in this daggone country over the past 4 years. People were making more money, but they felt like they were actually earning less because of the cost of everything. And you still got Democrats trying to tax people more. Democrat states raising taxes on people across the board. This is happening. Somebody has to do something. Somebody has to do something, at least try to do something different. If it doesn't work, we go back or we revert back. But at least try to do something different. But now these people, they're freaking out, even though these same people used to say the same things. Nancy Pelosi, just back in 2008, Bernie Sanders was talking the same thing. These people are hypocrites, man. But let's check out this next clip. These people are talking about the MAGA cult. It's ridiculous, but let's get into it.
You know, I'm going to say something on this show that I'm not sure I've heard anyone say before. I was wrong. When Donald Trump won, I thought that 75, 80 million Americans were all captured by the MAGA cult and that they would go along with whatever President Trump said. And I was wrong. There are a lot of people who voted very purely and clearly on the fact that they were experiencing economic distress and they wanted that economic distress to come to an end. I'm hearing from these people. I'm hearing from brothers who believed not in all of the social things or the rhetoric or the religious part of who Donald Trump is, but in the actuality, in their minds, that Donald Trump was a whiz businessman that was going to fix the American economy. They're confused. They don't know what's going on. They did not vote for harder times. And the reality is, as much spin as can be done on any network, it is going to be, in my opinion, irreparable harm done to the president's reputation if people experience a tremendous amount of pain, even in the short term, from the tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, a tremendous amount of harm done to his reputation, but also, I just...
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And I'm sure President Trump is not looking at his reputation right now because he's not running again in 28. The goal is to get the country turned in the right direction. The goal isn't a quick fix. And that's the problem with American politics. And a lot of times these Democrats and Republicans, they will look for the Band-Aid, the Band-Aid fix, and hoping that that will just be enough to suffice and then it'll get me voted back in, so forth and so on. We need real full-scale change in this nation, something that most politicians aren't willing to do because, unfortunately, when you go through change, change is going to hurt a little bit. And to be honest with you, I think that President Trump and the administration, J.D. Vance, they got to put it out there and say, hey, we're going to hurt a little bit. The market's going to be down. And now the market's not that big of a deal because the average American, they ain't got no money in the market. The average American don't have money in the stock market. No different than last year when they were talking about, oh, the market's doing great. That didn't matter either because the average American don't have money in the daggone stock market. So the stock market, that don't mean a whole lot. And with the market being down right now, and I'm not telling you what to do because I'm not a financial advisor, but a correction happens in the market every 12 to 18 months or 18 to 24 months, somewhere in that time frame. So we're going through a correction. Market has dropped a little bit. This is an opportunity to buy. And all the people that got a little bit of money, guess what they're doing right now? They're buying. What I will say is bet on America. Bet on Donald Trump. A lot of people cast their daggone bet on Biden and he destroyed it. He destroyed the nation. I'll put my money on Donald Trump, man.
I need to correct the record because I feel like I hear a lot of conservatives talking about, oh, the last time when Trump was in office, he put in those tariffs and everything was fine. Okay, here is JP Morgan talking about what happened the last time when he put in those tariffs. Steel tariffs created about 1,000 jobs for steelmakers who were protected by tariffs. They reduced employment by 75,000 in steel using industries such as autos and construction as prices rose and sales fell. Similarly, in all industries affected by Trump's tariffs, duties boosted factory employment by 0.4%, but reduced payrolls by 2% because of overall costs rising and retaliatory tariffs. It costs jobs to raise prices.
By the way, there's something else to pay attention to when you're looking at the job creation from the tariffs in the first Trump administration, the price per job. When you look at some of the jobs that were created, you're paying, in one case, like $815,000 per job for the jobs that were created because of the costs that are offset by the tariffs themselves. Yeah. So it's not a great way of job creation. It's very costly to the American public to do it that way.
You know what's sad about this is 90,000 factories did shut down in America since 2000. And Trump said, there's a hole in the ship. And that's one of the reasons he won. And to Vance's point, people thought he's a business guy. He's going to fix this. And he's going to disappoint those towns. He's going to disappoint those people who've been betrayed for the last 40 years because this isn't going to help improve their lives. And there's going to be more disillusionment in this country and more anger that their lives aren't changing. And that, to me, is the saddest part of all of this.
Scott?
Okay, so if this isn't going to work, if they don't think this is a good idea, where is their solution? None of these, everybody's talking about, oh, this isn't going to work. This isn't good for America. It's not good for the American worker. It's not going to bring jobs back. Where is their solution? I'm so tired of people talking about problems. No one ever talks about solutions. Where's the solution at? This dude's in Congress. Where's the solution? What's your solution? Because if you don't have one, shut up. Let the man do what he's doing, and let's see if it works.
Well, I think what is true today was true for Joe Biden and every other president that came before either of these two guys. If people feel like their economic trajectory is on the upswing, they will give you political leash. And if they feel like their own trajectory is on the downswing, they will punish you. You go back to Ronald Reagan, and he even though there were hard times in that first Reagan term, people felt like the country was getting back on the right track. They were willing to give him time because they believed in his program. They believed in the confidence that Reagan was projecting about America. That's what Trump has to do here. To the people that you think are going to be impacted in the short term, and they may well be, and Trump has acknowledged that, he has to make them believe that the long-term implications for this in their communities is worth it, even if they're experiencing a little short-term pain. So the political implication, Abby, I think, all goes on to the trajectory. Do you feel like things will go better in the future? And that is the salesman's challenge.
It also has to be true, because at the end of the day, if people start losing their jobs, which some of them will, this is going to end badly for Trump. Rhetoric is not going to do anything about that. I just want to play what one car dealer said earlier this morning, just about what's ahead for his business, pretty much immediately.
The cost is going to get passed to the consumer. There's no doubt about that. There's nothing we can do about that. I can't eat the cost. No matter what, all of us are going to sell less cars. And then we have to make the hard decisions. So that's laying people off. That's cutting vendors out. That's reducing our inventories and not ordering as many cars. All these things, to me, are negative impacts to the economy.
Has that not been the case already? People aren't buying new cars like that. Matter of fact, repos are up. Repos are up, and they've been up for quite some time. Car dealers been complaining because these interest rates have been crazy. They ain't selling cars like that. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Seriously. The car industry has been down for 5 years. What are we talking about? Seriously.
But I think he's got to get some deals in the short term, right? He's got to get some wins early, start equaling out these with our trading partners. If he gets those early wins and people start to see progress, he will continue to have that leash.
You know what's interesting? We're having a lot of conversations about President Trump and his political future and what it means for him to lose people. What we're not talking about, at least in a robust way, are the actual American people. The people who are being asked right now to sacrifice, to pay higher prices, to potentially lose their jobs for an economic future that they can't see and that there's absolutely zero clarity on. That you don't know why the tariffs are really there. You get 4 or 5 different answers as to why they're there. You don't know how they're going to benefit, but you're expected to lose your job, pay higher prices, not buy a car, do all of this stuff. For what?
I think that the choices facing the administration are tough, but one of them is just to...
Democrats don't have a solution. The only solution that they have, to stop this deficit is to increase revenue by taxing the American people more. That's the only solution that they have. They're fighting the man on cutting the waste. They're in the redundant positions within the federal government. They're fighting the man on rooting out the fraud. Now he's like, hey, we need to increase revenue, but we need an additional revenue stream. We can't just keep taxing the American people over again. You're fighting them over that. They have no solutions. They're just saying, what you're doing is wrong. You can't do this. There was no talk when the layoff started in 2021. Millions of people lost their jobs in 21, 22, 23, and 24. At least the federal workers that are losing their job, at least most of them received the buyout or they took the early pension. And they're still getting paid until September. The hypocrisy, that comes from the legacy media it's unreal. It's ridiculous. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel financially, join the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee. That link's in the description box below. Appreciate the support, the love. Appreciate everybody that rocks with me. If you are looking to hang out in the morning, come check out one of the livest, one of the most friendliest chats on all of YouTube. Come join us here, ARP in the morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Come join us. I appreciate you guys. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibe so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.